So good day everybody. Today we will be discussing Article 122 and Article 123 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay, Article 122 actually pertains to piracy in general and mutiny on the high seas or in Philippine waters, and Article 123 pertains to qualified piracy and qualified mutiny. Okay, so first, okay, we will define piracy. Okay, ano nga ba yung piracy? Okay, alam niyo na yan, di ba? One Piece, Pirates of the Caribbean, etc., etc. So you know what pirates do. But technically, when we speak of piracy, ito yung definition. It is robbery or forcible depredation on the high seas without lawful authority and done with animus furandi and in the spirit and intention of universal hostility. Okay. Pag sinabi natin animus furandi, we are actually referring to intent to gain. Correct? Intent to gain. Animus furandi. Okay. So that is piracy. Okay. Robbery or forcible depredation on the high seas with animus furandi and done in the spirit of universal hostility. Okay? Memorize? Okay. Next, mutiny. Okay. Mutiny is the unlawful resistance to a superior or the raising of commotions and disturbances on board a ship against the authority of its commander. Okay? So, pag piracy, robbery on the high seas. Kapag mutiny, it is actually unlawful resistance on the ship. Okay? So, there are three elements of piracy under Article 122 of the Revised Penal Code. Number 1, the vessel is on the high seas or Philippine waters. Number 2, offenders are neither members of its complement nor passengers of the vessel. Number 3, offender either attacks or seizes a vessel on the high seas or in Philippine waters, or seizes in the vessel while on the high seas or in Philippine waters the whole or part of its cargo, its complement or personal belongings, of its complement or passengers. And number 4, there is intent to gain. Okay. This element of intent to gain is present on piracy but not on mutiny. Okay. So these are the elements of mutiny. Number 1, the vessel is on the high seas or Philippine waters. Number 2, offenders are either members of the crew and its complement. And number 3, offenders either raises commotions and disturbances on board the ship against the authority of its commander or make unlawful resistance to a superior officer. Okay. So, doon sa piracy, actually, ito yung magnanakaw ka doon sa isang ship. Okay? Robbery on the high seas or in Philippine waters. Doon naman sa mutiny, ito yung mag-aaklas ka. Okay? Laban doon sa kapitan ng barko or any officers of the vessel. Okay? So, yun yung dalawang scenario dito. Okay? Now, before tayo mag-go further, ano bang pinagkaiba ng high seas or Philippine waters? Yung Philippine waters, madali lang yon. Okay? Archipelagic doctrine. Okay? Basta within the Philippines, all the waters connecting the islands, etc., covered yon ng Philippine waters. Okay? Pag sinabi naman nating high seas, okay, this refers to any waters of the sea coast which are without the boundaries on the lower watermark through such waters may be in the jurisdictional limits of a foreign government. Okay. Ganito lang ang tatandaan niyo sa sa high seas. Kapag lagpas na sa exclusive economic zone ng isang territorial jurisdiction, okay, high seas na yun. Kahit na covered pa yun ng foreign jurisdiction, it is considered high seas. Okay? Basta labas na sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas, lagpas na sa exclusive economic zone. Okay? So, that is piracy. So, piracy and mutiny. Piracy and mutiny can be committed both in the high seas and in Philippine waters. Okay? There are actually two kinds of piracy. Okay? Pag sinabi nating piracy, generally may two kinds, pero may dadagdag pa tayo na isa. Okay? Piracy under the Revised Penal Code, which is committed on the high seas. Okay? Piracy under PD 532 as amended, which is committed on Philippine waters. And number 3, air piracy, or ito yung tinatawag natin na anti-hijacking law. I-discuss natin isa-isa yan. Okay. So, doon muna tayo sa piracy as defined under the Revised Penal Code. Kanina, binanggit ko yung elements under Article 122 of the Revised Penal Code. So, it can be committed on the high seas or open seas, okay, by seizing the whole or part of the cargo of said vessel, its equivalent or that of its passengers. And number 3, okay, there is intent to gain. Okay, and number 4 pala, there is intent to gain. Okay. Note that the piracy defined under the Revised Penal Code can only be committed by outsiders. Okay. So, ang scenario na covered ng Article 122 is ganito. May ship. Okay. Maganda gawing ship. Okay. So, ang scenario, ganito. Okay. This is a ship. Okay. And this is a pirate ship. Okay. Commercial vessel, commercial ship, cargo ship, pirate vessel. Okay. Now, the pirate ship now attacks this commercial ship. Okay. The pirates coming from this pirate ship attacks, okay, the ship and robs, okay, robs the ship of its cargo. Okay. This is the situation that is contemplated by Article 122. It can only be committed by outsiders. Okay. So, ang ibig sabihin ba nun? Okay. Kapag, okay, insider, hindi ka na covered ng batas. Okay. The answer there is no. Okay. You may not be covered under Article 122 of the Revised Penal Code, but there is another law which covers the liability of outsiders committing the acts constituting piracy. Okay, what is that law? That is PD 532 as amended by Republic Act number 7659. Okay, gets. Okay. Under PD 532 as amended by Republic Act 7659, okay, the acts of piracy can also be committed by, okay, both outsiders and also insiders. How? Okay. Under PD 532 as amended by RA 7659, okay, piracy can also be committed by an offender who is a member of the crew, okay, or a passenger of the vessel. Okay. So, paano nangyayari yung piracy committed by insiders? Okay. So, ang ibig sabihin, pwede that this is a commercial ship. Okay. Andito si Dennis, andito si Angelito, okay. They are members, okay, of the crew, sabihin na natin. And they committed the acts of piracy. Pwede 'yon. Okay. Pwede rin na nandito si Angeline, andito si Marife, they are pirates, and they act in conspiracy with Angelito and Dennis, okay, in order to loot, okay, in order to attack the commercial vessel. Okay. So, pwede siya na they are members of the crew or passenger of the vessel acting, okay, on their own capacity. Pwede rin na they are acting in conspiracy, okay, with, okay, outsiders from the vessel. Okay. So, that is, okay, piracy as defined under PD 532 as amended by RA 7659. Okay. Kasi there was a loophole. Okay. Under Article 122, ang pwede lang mag-commit ng batas ay yung mga outsiders. Okay. Outsiders from the vessel. Okay. Diba, babalik tayo sa criminal law. Okay. Nulong krimen, nulong pena sina lehe. Okay. There's no crime when there's no law punishing it. Okay. And considering that Article 122 does not cover, okay, offenders who are insiders, okay, you could not punish insiders who commit acts of piracy. Okay, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng PD 532 tsaka RA 7659 to cover acts of piracy committed by insiders of the vessel. Okay. So, those are the elements of piracy. Okay. Sorry, sobrang mabilis ako kasi katatapos ko lang. Gusto ko lang matapos. Okay. Gusto ko lang magpahinga. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Another important concept is that piracy is a continuing crime. Okay. Considering that it is a continuing crime, okay, the elements of piracy can be committed in different jurisdictions. Okay. Pwedeng yung isang element or yung isang material element ng crime na gawa mo sa Philippine waters. Tapos, dahil nagta-traveling ship, yung ibang element na commit mo sa high seas. Okay. Kaya nga siya a crime against the law of nations. Kasi it can be prosecuted anywhere. Okay? The acts can be prosecuted anywhere, and okay, the offenders can be prosecuted in any jurisdiction. Okay? Diba? Nung last video, in-explain ko yung crimes against national security versus crimes against the laws of nations. Okay? Yun. Okay? It is a continuing crime. Okay? What else? Okay. Now, we go now to Article 123, which covers qualified piracy. Okay. So, piracy is qualified if there are circumstances, okay, that aggravates the commission of the crime. Okay. So, these are the qualifying circumstances of piracy. Number 1, whenever they have seized a vessel by boarding or firing upon the same. Number 2, whenever the pirates have abandoned their victims without means of saving themselves. Okay. Number 3, whenever the crime is accompanied by murder, homicide, physical injuries, or rape. Okay, so, if, okay, in the act of committing piracy, there is murder, homicide, physical injuries, and rape, you will not file separate informations. You will not file separate cases of rape, homicide, murder, and physical injuries. Hindi na. Because they are qualifying circumstances. Okay, which qualifies the acts to qualified piracy. They are already absorbed. Kaya nga siya naging qualified piracy. Hindi ka na mag-file ng separate crime, separate case for these 4 acts. Okay? They were committed in furtherance of piracy. Okay? For this qualifying circumstances also apply for mutiny. Okay? What else? So, another kind of piracy is air piracy. Okay, so kanina, piracy committed under the revised penal code, which is committed only by outsiders. Okay, piracy as defined under PD 532 as amended by RA 7659. And the third kind of piracy is air piracy. This is covered by Republic Act number 6352 or the anti-hijacking law. Okay? So, there are 4 situations, okay, which is governed by the anti-hijacking law. Number 1, usurping or seizing control of an aircraft of Philippine registry while it is in flight or compelling the pilots thereof to change the course or destination of the aircraft. Okay? Ito, in simplified form, this is hijacking of a Philippine aircraft. Okay. So, before we go on further, paano mo nga ba masasabi na the plane is in flight? Okay. Kailan ba in flight yung plane? Okay. Under the law, the plane is in flight after all exterior doors are closed following embarkation until opened for disembarkation. Okay. Ang ibig sabihin, kahit nakalapag na yung aircraft, kahit nakalapag pa rin yung aircraft, kung nakasarado pa rin yung exterior doors, it is still in flight. Okay, that is the determining factor of plane is in flight. Okay, all exterior doors are closed following embarkation until open for disembarkation. Okay, so the plane is in flight. Okay, now the second, okay, situation governed by the anti-hijacking law is usurping or seizing control of an aircraft of foreign registry while within Philippine territory, or compelling the pilots thereof to land in any part of Philippine territory. Yung kanina, hijacking of a Philippine aircraft. Ito namang pangalawa, hijacking of a foreign aircraft. Okay. Yung kanina, it is committed, okay, while the plane is in flight. Okay. Ito namang second mode, okay, because the aircraft is of foreign registry, okay, the law does not require that it be in flight. Okay. Kahit na hindi pa in flight, okay, as defined, as technically defined, okay, if, okay, you commit the acts constituting hijacking, okay, there is already criminal liability. Bakit? Okay. Kasi if a foreign vessel lands, for example here in the Philippines, ito, Qatar Airways, for example, okay, nakaland siya dito sa NAIA, okay, naka-open yung external doors, and etc. etc. Hindi pa siya in flight, okay. Technically, hindi pa siya plane in flight. Okay. Tapos, sorry, you compel the pilot, okay, to go to a specific place or location. Is that already anti-hijacking? Oh, hindi pa siya in flight? The answer is yes. Because the aircraft is of foreign registry. Even if it is not in flight per se, okay, it is actually considered in flight because it is a foreign aircraft. Okay? Hindi naman dito yung destination niya, hindi rin siya dito yung point of origin niya. So, technically, it is in transit. Okay? Now, okay. So, a while ago, I have told you that there are two ways of committing piracy. Okay? Yun yung usurping, okay, the aircraft while it is in flight, okay, and number two, okay, compelling the pilots to change course, okay. Usurping the aircraft while it is in flight, ibig sabihin you take control of the vessel habang nasa taas siya, okay, or while it is in flight as defined, technically defined a while ago. Or number two is, okay, compelling the pilots to change course. Okay, so gawa tayo ng scenario. Okay. For example, wait lang. So, the anti-hijacking law or the air piracy, okay, provides, okay, that hijacking can be committed by two ways. Number one, by usurping, okay, the plane or the aircraft while it is in flight. And number two, by compelling the pilots to change course. Okay, so yung number one, usurping the aircraft while it is in flight, ito yung, okay, you take control of the plane, okay, habang in flight siya as technically defined a while ago. Pwede rin na, okay, you compel the pilots to change course. Okay, so gagawa tayo ng scenario. Maganda. Okay. So for example, ito si Dennis tsaka si Angelito. They are pilots of Qatar Airways. Okay. So the plane is, okay, currently landed here on the Philippines, sa NAIA. Nakaland yung eroplano. Tapos si Dennis tsaka si Angelito, umalis muna sila sa lounge. Okay. Tapos magkakape muna sila. Okay. While on the while nagkakape sila, si Dennis tsaka si Angelito, pilots ng Qatar Airways, andito si um, Wendell. Okay. Andito si Wendell. Okay. Siya isang member ng isang terrorist group. Okay. Si Wendell, kasama niya si Alberto. Okay. Tsaka si wala. Okay, silang dalawa na lang. Si Wendell tsaka si Alberto. Okay. Ngayon, sinundan nila si Angelito tsaka si Dennis. Tumapat sila sa likod. Tapos tinutukan nila ng baril. Okay. Tapos sabi ni Wendell, okay, I want to go to the Caribbean. Okay. Go to the plane and drive me to the Caribbean. Okay. So, sinamahan nila na maglahad si Dennis tsaka si Angelito papunta doon sa aircraft. Okay. Pagdating doon sa aircraft, okay, pagdating nila doon sa cockpit, sinabi ni Wendell tsaka ni Alberto na dalhin sila sa Caribbean. Okay. That is an act of hijacking. Is that correct? Okay. Compelling the pilots to change course. Tama? Di ba? Okay. Now, are they liable already under the anti-hijacking law? Okay. Note that, okay, they are in the lounge. Okay. Wala sila doon sa plane nang nangyari yon. Okay. The plane is currently landed. Okay. Tama? Okay. Are they liable under the anti-hijacking law? Okay. The answer is yes or no? Okay. The answer is yes. Okay. Note that the aircraft is Qatar Airways, and Qatar Airways is actually a foreign aircraft. Therefore, it is not required that the plane actually be in flight. Okay. Kahit na nakaland yun, kahit na yung mga pilots ay wala doon sa plane, they are still liable under, okay, the Anti-Hijacking Law or Republic Act 6293 because it is of foreign registry. Okay? Okay, so that is our lecture for piracy, qualified piracy, mutiny, qualified mutiny, and anti-hijacking law, which is also known as air piracy. Okay, so recap the elements of piracy, the elements of mutiny, the elements of qualified piracy, the elements of qualified mutiny, the elements of a violation for anti-hijacking law. Okay, so basically yun lang. I'm really sorry, I'm in a hurry kasi gusto ko na rin humiga. Okay. So, next video lecture, I will be discussing arbitrary detention and the other crimes. Okay, I will be uploading them next time. Okay, so, if you have questions, alam ko masyadong madali yung lecture. Masyadong minadali yung lecture. If you have questions, just kindly message me on our GC or on our MS Teams. Okay, so good night.